Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the joint meeting between the Minnehaha County Commission and the Sioux Falls City Council. This is the meeting of Monday, August 16th, 2010. If we could start with a roll call of the Sioux Falls City Council, please.
Council members Aguilar.
Here.
Anderson.
Here.
Brown.
Here.
Entman.
Here.
Erpenbach. Here. Jameson.
Here.
Litz.
Here.
Rolfing.
Here.
And the record will reflect that we have a quorum of the Sioux Falls, or the Minnehaha County Commission.
Thank you very much. To start our meeting, if we could have a pledge of allegiance, please, if we could all stand.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Again, I'd like to welcome the great people of the Minnehaha County Commission here today. It's great to have you at this forum. If I could get a motion to approve today's regular agenda.
So,
Move to approve, Jameson.
second Aguilar.
Councilor Jameson has made a motion to approve today's agenda, and it was seconded by Councilor Aguilar. Are there any comments or questions in regards to that? Hearing none, if we could have a vote to approve, please.
Council members Aguilar.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Entman.
Yes.
Erpenbach.
Yes.
Jameson.
Yes.
Litz.
Yes.
Rolfing.
Yes.
I'd entertain a motion to approve the agenda by the County Commission.
So moved.
Motion is second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion is second.
That motion is passed. Thank you very much. Going on to today's regular items, we've got three items on the agenda. The first one is a presentation on the budget for the Siouxland Heritage Museum. Before we start, should we have a motion to approve this? Is that right, Councilor Jameson? Would you recommend that, or do we do the presentation? What do you folks normally prefer to do? Want to hear the
Do
presentation?
the presentation, Mayor, ask questions, and then if there's an opportunity for any changes, Council President.
That's correct.
Councilor Jameson, are you okay with that?
Sure.
All right, very good. Well, please proceed. Welcome.
Well, good afternoon. Bill Hoskins, Director of Siouxland Heritage Museums. At the joint budget hearings, we typically review three budgets that we would approve in joint session. One is the museum's operations budget. One is the museum, two revenue budgets, the museum special enterprise fund and the museum store budget. And those are the budgets that are adopted in joint session. And in theory, we're supposed to have matching resolutions from the city and the county. Very quickly, our operations budget for the Siouxland Heritage Museums in 2011 is $1,123,047 is our request. The majority of this money is in our human resources. And the budget, our human resources are something that are very valuable to us. We have the same number of full-time employees now as we have had for the last 15 years, the same number of positions. I have to apologize. I lost my voice yesterday, and I've tried to save it all day long to talk, but I'm just a little froggy. So anyway, I'll try and expedite things. In this budget this year, we have reduced our part-time employment numbers. We have also, I'm actually asking, at this point, we can reduce our budget by what our original request was by about $5,500. In the last 2 weeks, I've had two human resource events. April Woodside, who is our curator of exhibits, her husband has found a job in Florida, and April's a very senior employee. And also Marty Davidson, who has been our events coordinator for many years, is retiring October 1st. And so looking ahead at replacing those employees, whoever we hire is going to be hired at a much lower pay grade step than either of these individuals. And I'm certain that we will have at least $5,500 of expenses that are in the budget or were in the budget that we won't need in 2011. And depending on health insurance issues for what prospective new employee might be, we may have an additional savings, but that's not something I can predict at this time. So I believe with the operations budget, we are actually, this year's request, including human resources, is actually less than it was in our 2010 budget. And where am I going? The amount, the amount for each of the city and the counties for our operations budget is $558,774. Our enterprise fund is probably become a very key budget for us, because as you look at our operations budget, our human resource costs have increased over the last decade they continue to rise. The operational expenses, the money we use to do other things with, is actually smaller in amount today than it was 10 years ago. And it's been the enterprise fund that's allowed us to do that. And we continue to try and shift some of our expenses to the enterprise fund. And with the enterprise fund, there's a significant change that's occurred. I think because of the recommendations from the state auditors, we used to have revenue from the museum's endowment fund, and also cash that we received through the Museums Alliance, which is a private nonprofit organization that supports the museums. That money used to go into a grants budget. As a recommendation from the auditor, that revenue is now going into the enterprise fund. So the enterprise fund budget has jumped up a bit because we have more revenue and corresponding expenses that are now being accounted in that. And so you'll see that it went from about $85,000 budget for 2010 up to about $135,000. But the enterprise fund has really been a key budget in helping us continue to provide expanding services for the public and try and keep our costs down. And finally, the museum store account, which is probably the smallest, and the store really is to help us provide something to the visitor that they can take home with them, a piece of an exhibit, a local history, things like that. And at this point, I'm going to stop talking and let you ask questions and try and conserve my voice so I can answer the questions.
Could I get a motion to approve funding amount for the Siouxland Heritage Museum, whether it be a county commissioner or a city councilor from Sioux Falls?
Mayor, if I could, I think we're just approving the report.
Oh, really?
The actual budget won't be adopted until later when we vote on the budget. I just want to be clear with everybody.
Thanks, Councilor Jameson. Thank you.
For the sake of moving forward, I'll make a motion to approve.
Just a question. Are we approving museums, library, and then Metro? Do we approve each of them separately?
Yes.
Okay. Because I need to excuse myself from Metro Communications because SDN provides services there.
Councilor Jameson has made a motion to approve the report for the Siouxland Heritage Museum. Is there a second?
Second, Aguilar.
Councilor Aguilar has seconded that. Is there any discussion in regards to the report as presented on the Siouxland Heritage Museum?
I have a question. I
I was under the understanding that tonight we were actually conducting a budget hearing and that we would be voting on these joint budgets because we have our final hearing is like September 3rd or early in September, and we need to file our budget with the state. And we've always passed the budget at this particular end of August meeting. So when would we do it?
It's just how I understand it to be. Maybe Councilor Litz, do you have a...
Well, it seems to me, to answer Carol's question, we're trying to do this in a piecemeal fashion where we used to do it in one fell swoop. Am I correct? It seems to me, if memory serves me right, that's the way we did it.
I was thinking we did them each separately because I've always had to excuse myself from metros, and I've been involved in the library budgets. And
In my experience, you have taken each of the budgets separately. The museum first, passed resolutions, library, passed resolutions, then Metro, so that they're separate.
And Bill, can I ask, do we normally then just review the report, or do we actually approve the budget tonight from your past experience?
From my past experience, or my perspective, and Sue's probably a good person to comment on this, but my understanding is you pass a resolution that is adopting these three budgets.
Okay. Sue, Sue, could you clarify for...
Yeah, I do have, I do have the minutes from last year's meeting, and typically the action we've recorded is an action to approve the budget. And of course, each entity takes an action later to approve their full budget, but the county commission considers that the numbers approved at this meeting here are final from our perspective. And so I don't know exactly how it works for the city, but the action we will record is to approve the budget in a specific amount. The amount we have in our budget currently is the higher amount above the $5,500, and so on the county side, if you're going to make a motion to accept his recommendation, if you could state that, that'd be helpful.
And right now, we're on discussion on, I guess, whether to approve the report versus approving a budgeted amount in terms of moving forward. Councilor Jameson, any thoughts that you would want to relay?
Right. I just talked to Deborah Owen, our city clerk. The formal action that the council will take is later when we do adopt the budget, but I believe it's stated that the county is adopting their budget in the dollar amount to be accurate, but the council won't adopt that amount until later when we formally adopt the budget.
If I may, Mayor, thank you. What we do, as do you, because these are a joint cooperative effort, each of us need to know whether the other entity is going to provide the funding that is put forth. We rely upon you, as do you upon us. And so we take this time and we do it at this time so that both entities is assured of the action of the other one. You will adopt your formal budget later on, as will we, but we will include these dollar amounts so that we are assured that we will have that funding. And I'm looking at, like, the museum operation budget is $558,774 for the city and the same amount for the county. Right. And I do have a question from Bill Hoskins, because you had quoted the number $1,123,047, which is actually not the number that is represented here. The number is the $1,117,547. And so that discrepancy we need to settle also, because you did ask for a different amount than what is shown here. But does that clarify, Mayor, that we would do each one of the three budgets separately?
Well, if we could ask the city clerk to maybe help us, but I wouldn't maybe argue that that's probably the right answer, that we do need to address this. I can appreciate a problem later if we don't approve the amount and you've now encumbered a larger amount. So we probably should settle this right here, right now.
Councilor Jameson, would you be willing to withdraw your prior motion, or would you want to revise it to not only approve the report but also include a budgetary amount for the city and county to approve?
I would like to open it up to further discussion before, so I will withdraw my motion to approve.
Councilor Aguilar, would you be willing to remove it as, you were the second on that?
Yes.
So we're back to square one. The motion to approve the report as presented by Mr. Hoskins in regards to the Sioux Heritage Museum has been withdrawn. Is there another motion?
If I may, I would just respectfully request that we do clarify what our protocols are going to be, because we as a county, we wouldn't necessarily have to sit here tonight, and neither would you, if you were going to deal with these joint budgets totally independently. As Commissioner Hayek explained, we've already gone through a long series of summer hot night budget hearings where we've looked at Bill's budget and Sally's budget and the 911 budget. But tonight, we want to go away understanding that we're all in agreement on what we are going to spend in 2011 for these three budgets. So it seems to me we should come as close as we possibly can to saying we accept this budget, or we don't.
So is there a motion to approve the budget as presented for the Siouxland Heritage Museum by Mr. Hoskins?
So moved, let's.
Councilor Litz has made a motion to approve the museum the museum budget. Is there a second?
Second, Brown.
Make the same motion on the county side. Is that fair to get that discussion? Okay.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second, so we're now in discussion phase. Thank you, Mayor.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, Commissioner Brown.
You know, in looking back at our budget process in the county, I believe it has actually been somewhat haphazard this year, and certainly we didn't have Mr. Hoskins come in and go over his information with us directly. And when looking further down our agenda here, we're faced with making some significant cuts in 911, which I believe is so very important to our community from a public safety point of view. I think that in the interest of doing our due diligence, we should attempt to make some additional cuts in the museum budget for just this next year. And I would point out that, for example, we have $40,000 in there for advertising for a free venue. And, additionally, I would point out that the Sioux Empire Fair, which brings 700,000 people to our community over the year, gets $250,000, and the museum brings us 70,000 people in a year and gets a much larger subsidy. So I feel we should, it's not a happy thing to do, but it's my job as a county commissioner to make sure we're spending our money as thriftily and as carefully as possible.
Is there any further discussion on the motions that have been presented, on the motion to approve the museum operations budget as presented? Yes, Commissioner
Well,
Tweed.
I have to say this. I am the liaison to the museum system, and number one, and I've worked closely with the museum board as well as Bill Hoskins to present this budget, which actually shows a decrease over 2010. And to publicly call the process of budgeting that the county has gone through all during this hot summer haphazard is insulting to me at the very least. I will support this budget wholeheartedly.
Mr. Barr?
I have to say, Carol, we canceled more meetings than we had, and when we had those meetings, we got rid of them as quickly as possible. So don't give me this stuff about we worked so hard on it.
Yes, Councilor Rolfing?
Bill, what amount are you asking for from us? I'm trying to look at your budget here. It says $1,000,003. You divide that by 2, it's $690. And over here, we've got, you're asking for $1 million, you got $1,000,001, divide that by 2, and then over here, you've got $558. Tell me how much you want, and let's go, let's decide.
The amount less the $5,500. That brings us down to $1,117,547. Divided in half is $558,774. That's what I'm looking at right now.
Okay.
That's what I would like.
And I thank you for that clarification, because you did say the other number in your presentation.
I apologize. That was the number before taking the $5,500.
If I may, Mayor, I won't belabor
Please.
our budget hearings. We've had certainly gone through them, as you will, and have, so I don't know, is there any other comment from the County Commission in regard to the museum's budget? Could I entertain then our vote?
City Council, any further comments or questions in regards to this budget? Councilor Litz.
Mr. Mayor, maybe this isn't the time, but I'm going to do it anyway. A while back, the city was, in the county was given some land by Mr. Bob Hall in the, with the idea that we are going to build a storage facility, a badly needed storage facility, and this year was probably the year that our collection was you couldn't have been in any worse danger, and I don't think it's going to be this year, and maybe next year it might not either, but sooner or later, you people that are new to the council and plan on being here are going to be tasked with coming up with some money for a storage facility. I just want to put that thought in your mind.
Councilor Litz, thank you. Any further discussion from the City Council? Hearing none, if we could have a roll call vote from the City Council in regards to the museum budget, and then we'll defer to the County Commission.
Council members Aguilar,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Entman,
Yes.
Erpenbach, Jamison.
Yes.
Litz.
Yes.
Rolfing.
Yes.
That is passed 8-0 by the Sioux Falls City Council.
And I would ask all those in favor of the motion for the county to say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, City Council. Thank you, Mayor, County Commission. Now moving on to item 2. Welcome.
Item 2 is a joint budget hearing for the Siouxland Libraries.
Hey, Sally Felix with Siouxland Libraries, representing another joint budget. The total library, Siouxland Libraries budget for 2011, as is being proposed by in the mayor's budget, is $6,586,584. Just to give you a quick overview, those of you who may have the actual mayor's budget book, the library budget starts on page 61, and I believe the county commission should have received the same information for just copied out of that book. Basically, our operating budget next year, our budget is pretty level with 2010 when you take into consideration the holdbacks that we put in place into 2010. We will be maintaining our full complement of full-time staff at 62 full-time staff members. We have made reductions in the use of part-time staff, and I think we've gotten that under a lot better control than we had before, and we've also made some changes in some of our internal processes and how we utilize part-time staff, and some changes in the full-time staff's responsibilities as well. We will certainly be able to maintain our core services, and those, of course, are circulation or borrowing, which is the primary thing we do, although we do a lot of other things as well. We will be able to maintain our provision of public computer services. You all have heard me talk about that over the years and how important that has become, particularly for those members of our community, who aren't as well off as some others, although we have a wide range of people using those programs. We will be able to maintain our children's services, although we will be cutting back on using paid program folks in the summer, but we will still have our full slate of children's programs that we have during the year. That's done by the library staff. And then we'll be able to take care of our basic facility needs.
On the capital budget side, our materials funds will be, again, level with the 2010 after we instituted the holdbacks. We will be looking at 3 building projects. We're going to, or assuming we get approval, we will be replacing the front doors at the Crooks Branch, which we did not do as part of our renovation project, which we wish we would have, but we didn't. So we are asking for some funds to do that. And then also, we're going to do some HVAC upgrades at both the Cayley Branch and the Ronning Branch in Sioux Falls. And just a word on the Westside Branch Library, because everyone always asks about this and is curious to know. We are on target for that. We will be getting an architect on board yet this year, and we'll use 2011 to do our design process, and then we would expect to go out to bid in 2012 and open in the summer of 2013. I think it must be catching. I'm getting a little bit of this, too. Maybe it's the microphones. And I'd be glad to answer any questions that you may have.
Would anybody in the City Council or the County Commission want to make a motion to approve the budget as presented by Ms. Phoenix?
So moved. Let's.
Second, Entenmann.
Councilor Litz has made a motion to approve, and it was seconded by Councilor Entenmann in regards to the City Council.
Is there a similar motion for the County Commission?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second. Thank you.
Is there any discussion on the 2 motions by either the City Council or the County Commissioners? Yes, Commissioner Barth?
Quick question for you, Sally. Will there be any expanded hours in the rural libraries this next year?
Not this next year. We will be maintaining the hours that we have, and you may recall, I think it was in 9, we actually got some additional appropriation from the County Commission to increase those hours. So we're maintaining those increased hours, but we will not be adding any more.
Commissioner Tweed?
Oh, we have a board member sitting in the audience, Joel Rosenthal. At least I assume you're still on the board, Siouxland Libraries Board, and I hope you would agree with me when I say, Sally, congratulations for doing such a great job managing such a precious resource in our community, and also once again to say how smart, I guess, a group of people were a little over a decade ago to combine the county libraries along with the wonderful city library. It's given our rural residents the much better services than they ever had prior to that. So thanks to you, Sally. Thanks, Joel, for your service.
And if I might, we actually were, the mayor and I were just visiting Ronning Branch Library this morning and talking about that. It's actually been 15 years since the merger, so, and it's worked out well for both city residents and county residents.
And if I may, Mayor, both Commissioner Tweed and I, she as a county commissioner, me as a city councilor, were at this table, except it wasn't in this building, we weren't done then, to approve that joint cooperative agreement with the old City Hall, and it really has worked well. Many of those communities are now part of Sioux Falls and are loving the fact that they have that nice public library. So it's really fun to see the growth.
Well, and thank you for your leadership and vision.
No, it's fun.
Any further questions or comments from City Council or the County Commissioners? Hearing none, could we have a motion or a roll call vote, please, for the Sioux Falls City Council?
Councilmembers Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Entenmann?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Litz?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
That is passed 8-0. Thank you.
And I would ask for those members of the county commission that vote in favor of this to say aye, please.
Aye.
Those opposed? Same sign. Thank you. It passes. Thanks, Commissioner Beckes.
Thank you. Item 3, please.
Mr. Mayor, I need to excuse myself from this
Councilor Brown,
discussion.
thank you.
Good evening.
Could we just read item 3 first, please?
Item 3 is the joint budget hearing for Metro Communications.
Thank you.
Michelle Boyd, I'm the acting director for Metro Communications, while Darren Ketchum is gone, expected to be back the end of May, first part of June. So I've prepared this budget for him for the year of 2011. We just have a real brief slideshow presentation for you, just to give you a little bit of history about Metro Communications. Real quickly, we're a 24-hour operation, 365 days a year, and we currently employ 46 full-time employees who serve approximately 190,000 citizens, and we answer about 300,000 calls annually. The dispatching that we do is done for 3 law enforcement agencies. Those are the Sioux Falls Police Department, the Sheriff's Department, as well as Brandon. We also dispatch for 5 ambulance services, 15 fire departments, emergency management, as well as the Sioux Falls Animal Control. The Metro Management Council met and adopted our 2011 budget on June 9th of 2010, and so I'd like to provide you some brief budget highlights from that meeting. Our E911 surcharges is the majority of the income that comes into 911. If you'll notice, in 2010 we budgeted for $2,191,000, and in 2011 we're budgeting for $2,126,425. We've seen a decrease in the revenue that we're receiving from 911 surcharges, and we've had some pretty long discussions with Metro Management Council about how important it is to see those surcharges increased. Currently, we get 75 cents per line for surcharges, and with inflation, we should be getting about $1.32, $1.33. So it's pretty significant to us to get those surcharges increased in the legislation. As you'll notice, our other source of revenue is the city and county support, which is why I'm here today. For 2011, we also went to Brandon because we had noticed that Brandon's use of E911 is really increasing. They're about at 4% of our usage. And so we went to Brandon and requested that they also participate in this budget for 911. So for 2011, Brandon is actually supplying $54,000 towards the 911 budget. So that was put into this revenue prior to the city-county support. You'll notice that the 2011 support from the city-county then is $1,296,528. Of that, the city share is $972,396, and the county share is $324,132 that we're requesting. Other than that revenue, our personnel expenses, you can see up there, have gone down by about 5%, as well as our operating expenses and our capital expenses. We were tasked to take a look at our 2010 budget, and the budget that they approved is 85% of our 2010 budget. And so we looked to our operating expenses. We cut out some operating expenses such as some equipment purchases. These equipment purchases I pushed off till the 2012 budget, but I think it's very important for you to realize that if that equipment breaks, we will be needing to replace that equipment. It's important equipment to the center, but we've pushed that off to 12 to try to assist with this financial situation of the city and county this year. What else? As you'll see, the major sources of our revenue are just simply the 911 surcharges that we talked about and the city and county support. This pie chart shows how much of our expenditures are truly just in our personnel costs. And so 76% of our budget is personnel costs, who are answering all of the phones and the radios for the emergency services. And the last slide just shows our overtime budget. We have been making pretty good strides, I think, in Metro to try to hold down our overall overtime cost. If you'll notice, in 2007, it was significantly higher than they're spending over these last few years. And I commend the Metro staff for that, for taking a look at what they need as far as overtime and making some pretty good cutbacks for that, so you can rest assured that they've been doing everything they can in that area to hold those costs back. At this time, I will open it up for any questions you may have.
Could I get a motion from the city council to approve this budget as presented?
So moved, Erpenbach.
Second?
Second Aguilar.
There's been a motion by Councilor Erpenbach, seconded by Councilor Aguilar, to approve the motion, to approve the budget as presented.
Would you entertain a similar motion from the county?
So moved.
Second. Motion and second from the county.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Councilor Erpenbach.
Clarification, Michelle. There's no capital expenditures in this budget at all, and you're saying you're not buying equipment. That's how you're doing that.
We have no capital expenditures, that's correct. And we have put some of our equipment purchases on hold, such as voice print and net clock. We were set to replace those, some in 10 and some in 11, and we've pushed those off. We have bought some service contract agreements to get us through. But what I am saying is if those pieces of equipment break down, I will need to either repair them, which will be costly, or replace them. However, we've taken a really hard look at whether our service contract agreements will get us through to 12, and we feel that they will.
Okay.
Now, if the surcharge increase does not happen in 12, we will need to come to the city and county for some significant funding at that time.
Then my question, maybe it's not for you, maybe it's for the group, is how are we going about that? Are we taking some sort of concerted effort? Is the Metro Council doing that? And talk to me about how that's going to work for us to make that happen.
Michelle, would you mind, before that is answered, who are the folks that represent the council as well as the county commission on that particular council?
On Metro Management
Yes.
Council is the mayor, Mr. Huther, and Mr. Jameson, Mr. Entenman, and then Mr. Peckus and Mr. Kelly from the county.
Thank you.
So again, if we could answer that question, though, what's the process and what do we need to do? Do we need to do some advocacy?
Commissioner Peckus.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's an excellent question. A couple of years ago, we had sent out letters to not only the state of South Dakota, which was looking at their 911 PSAPs across the state of South Dakota, and I know that there was a concerted effort at that time to try to raise the funds from, I believe it was 75 cents to $1. That did not meet with approval from the legislature. However, there was a lot of groundwork that was laid at that time. So at this point, we are once again approaching our legislative contingent to go ahead. We're sending letters from both the mayor's office as well as from the county commission to encourage them to look at this fee increase. It's essential law enforcement, or your communication function. And so a lot of effort was maintained to last year to lay that groundwork, and so we're hoping that it will be fruitful this year.
So remind me then, it's 75 cents on every phone line, including my cell phone lines, correct?
It is, but what is very telling is that we have actually had to look at those cell phone numbers because they've been quite static. They have not increased. However, the number of cell phones that have been used has increased. So we have actually challenged a lot of the cell phone providers, most recently with a letter from the state's attorney's office, challenging them to actually account for the remittance of those 75-cent charges. And the responses we've got have been limited and varied, but the ones that we have gotten have said, we are remitting all the funds coming in. There are some that still haven't responded yet. However, it is telling that those funds have been somewhat static the last couple of years. The last time we sent a letter out, I believe it was about 3 or 4 years ago, and I think Mr. Swanson can speak to that, and Ms. Roust, but after we sent those out, funds were remitted. So in other words, that tells us that some of the wireless providers are taxing but not remitting. So we need to also take a look at that particular function. However, when the legislature passed the statute related to that, they never built in an audit function. So we can't really get access to that information other than the fact that I suppose if we issued a subpoena due stake and we could haul them into court under some legal theory, but that would be pretty tortured, and I don't know if it would actually survive judicial scrutiny. So if that's a quick answer to your question, we're sending letters.
I appreciate that. I guess I would hope that we might work as a group, all of us, and to be more proactive with this and work with our legislators. Thank you for that answer.
Commissioner Peckus, great job. Councilor Entenmann?
Mr. Barth mentioned earlier, Commissioner Barth, that he was concerned about the decrease that we've had to take through Metro, and I guess at meetings previously that I also made that statement that I think you're doing a fantastic job. The service agreements makes a lot of sense, but we cannot compromise the health, safety, and welfare of our community, and nor do I believe that we should even look at it. With that in mind, I did vote, for the decrease, the 15% down, or whatever it was that we went for, realizing that next year, it's a new budget period, right? And we got to take a look at what we need. And the capital improvements that we need with the new phone system and stuff, it's something that we can't continue to put off. So we will be looking at that in the future, there's no doubt.
Councilor Entenmann, thank you.
If I may.
Yes, Michelle, sorry.
We also had that discussion at Metro Management Council about whether it's going to hinder the services that Metro is providing. And I can assure you I wouldn't present you a budget that I feel is hindering the services in our community. We're still going to be having the same number of staff answering the radios, responding to the 911 calls. We're still doing all that necessary training that we need to. We haven't made any cuts there. The cuts that we have made is basically in equipment, and some of the things that we really haven't cut, we've pushed off in order to make it through this year. And we've tried to put some stoppages in place, such as the maintenance agreements, to get us through, that if anything breaks, we can get it, serviced. But at this time, we have not stopped anything that we are currently providing to the community.
Yes.
If I may, I really want to commend Michelle for what she's done, and Anna. As they mentioned, Darren is in Afghanistan. She has taken over, I believe that's where he's at right now. She's taken over. In that time, since we set up the Metro Council, we have a change of all but one of the council members, and that would be Commissioner Peckus. And that would be just because of the change in elective officials. And so Councilmember Benega, Costello, Mayor Munson, and I was on that committee, and I got off for some continuity, and Commissioner Kelly, who should be back soon. So I applaud you, because this has been a very difficult time. There's been a lot of change, and you've done an excellent job. And so I thank you.
Commissioner Ike, thank you. Yes, Councilor Anderson, Jr.
Just one quick question. On your items and explanations, you have $51,707 for REMSA.
Yes.
What services do they provide?
REMSA is our medical oversight, and so they provide us some training. They provide a review of our calls for our emergency medical calls. We have regular meetings with them. They provide a lot of service in the community as well for the medical oversight, and our portion that we pay is to pay for a portion of REMSA. We pay it through the city budget.
Thank you.
Chairman Hayek, with your permission, if I could just, did you mention the Brandon situation, the revenues from Brandon?
Yes,
thank you.
$54,000 we got from Brandon this year, and it will be an ongoing revenue to us.
Thank you so much. Yes, Commissioner?
I guess I share Councilor Erkenbach's concerns, and if it were not for the fact the recommendation comes from the Metro Council, who spend, you meet monthly, I do believe, to help govern this body, but this probably is a department, or I think it's a standalone agency, but we need to understand that what Metro 911 does is absolutely critical in our community. And, I'm not so sure that 2012 is going to be that much easier of a budgeting year from things that I read and hear. So it's going to be difficult, and we've got to remember that this is the first response to law enforcement, to emergency situations that we have in our entire community. So please give this department priority in 2012.
So noted, Commissioner. Thank you. Any other questions or comments in regards to the motion or motions? Councilor Jameson.
I just thought I'd follow up as well as a member of the Metro Communications group. They've done everything they can. I just wanted to share with the council, they've done everything they can to shore this thing up as tight as they've got it. You should know that. They've worked really hard. I made a proposal, instead of cutting the budget, that we just shorten up our hours of service from 365 days to 360 days, or maybe 22 hours a day instead of 24. But that didn't go over very well. But I think if we don't receive some rate adjustments in our surcharges on the phones and/or an accounting procedure to allow us to track that number better, I would maybe move that we're going to have to do something like that, because I think we've been pushed to the edge, and the staff has responded very well.
For the record, Councilor Jameson was joking. He did not. He did not propose that people of Sioux Falls and Minnehaha County. Councilor Jameson is a responsible man who cares about the city. He was just joking there with you. Any other?
Thank you, Mayor. I was a little concerned about that. I would also, though, historically like to say that the council, or the commission and the council, and particularly this used to be just in the county situation, we have been dealing with people in Pierre for a number of years, trying to get our arms around how many phones are out there. And you can go up and say, I could go around to everybody in this room, and I've been singing this same song and dance, it's the honest smiling, but somewhere, even the voice over internet, as Commissioner Pecos will tell you, all of these lines are subject to the 75-cent surtax on a monthly basis. And we have no way to ever audit or to know how many are out there. And as much as we've tried, it's a very large entity that we're fighting. And so it's something, as we maybe get the public aware of it, that they've got that cell phone, and the one call that every single one of them wants to have an answer to is 911. And that is the most important call made, and it's the most important call answered. And until we have the funds to do that, there's going to be a serious problem.
Well, if I may, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, Commissioner Pecos.
I just have 2 points. The first point is that I think there was a dollar amount that you provided at the last meeting. It's been 75 cents since, what year was that adopted? Do you recall? You had that at the meeting.
Yeah, I have that here. 1989, that rate was established, and if inflation had been allowed there, it would be about $1.32, $1.33 today.
And it hasn't been adjusted since it was enacted in 1989, which I think is very inept on the part of our legislative contingent and peer. And then also, the other interesting point was that, and I think the City Council and the commissioners that are new should remember, that the last time this was really pushed at the legislature, the result was that there was a referendum that was paid for by Verizon to put a referendum on the ballot to eliminate the tax altogether. So when you want to talk about playing with powerful entities, you're dealing with individuals that are willing to pay people to sit outside city and county courthouses to take signatures to get a tax repealed that essentially provides for your 911 service. So we do play with pretty big individuals up in Pierre, and they're very mindful of this, and they don't necessarily want any increase in any tax.
Commissioner Pecos, thank you. Any other questions or comments in regards to the motions? Hearing none, if I could have a roll call vote of the City Council.
Council members Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Entman?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jameson?
Yes.
Litz?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
And for, excuse me.
That is passed 7-0.
And for the county, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes for the county.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That concludes the agenda items. Is there any open discussion from the City Council or from the County Commissioners tonight? Hearing none, if I could have a motion to adjourn, please.
So move, let's.
Second, Entenmann.
Councilor Litz has made a motion to adjourn, seconded by Councilor Entman. Similar motion by the county.
So move, Barth.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
If I could have a roll call vote as city council, please.
Councilmembers Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Brown? Entman?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Litz?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Okay.
That is passed 7-0. Thank you, County Commissioners. Thank you, City Council, for your stewardship.
Thank you.
Meeting is adjourned.